So I'm thinking, without being disrespectful, you've got some grey in your beard.
Yes.
You've got some life experience, and so I think some of that might be worth sharing. Um, you've always had a lot of good advice for me when I've had questions on all sorts of various things, um, that maybe I necessarily wouldn't take to a priest,
Yes, yes.
um, but then again that I wouldn't necessarily take to my parents for whatever reason that might be.
Yes.
Um, and this is such an important role of the Godfather. And so there's also questions that other people have put to me, and I've thought, well, rather than me trying to fumble with an answer,
Yeah.
I would see what you think
Okay.
on a few things. So we all know that a big part of being a man and of being a Christian man is admitting when you're wrong,
Yeah.
knowing when you've been wrong, and so what comes next, and what is the distinction between the two, between saying sorry and asking for forgiveness?
Hmm.
What is the approach?
Well, um, let's see. I think mostly people have a misconception about when they do something wrong or when they sin, um, because there's levels to these things and there's kind of categories also. So let me give you an idea. Like, let's say you murder somebody. Let's start with the extreme. Let's say you literally kill somebody. Uh, on the one hand, it's a sin. On the other hand, it's a crime. And on the other hand, it's also a hurt that you might have caused that person's family, a damage or a hurt or a violation or a treachery or whatever you want to call it. But you can see that killing someone happens on different levels. So let's say the family of the murdered person miraculously forgives you for murdering their loved one. You would still have to go to prison because you've committed a crime. So there's different categories and there's different levels. So typically in our day-to-day lives, we don't walk around murdering people, but you might make a mistake. Someone might welcome you into their house, and you might knock a glass off the table and break the glass. That is a small mistake. It's not necessarily a sin, but you still cause damage, which might cost money. So you would have to say, forgive me, because I've made a mistake, not necessarily a sin, but you just say, forgive me. And then you might also feel sorry because you care for this person. So you feel sorry for the fact that you've caused this person damage. And then you might also offer to make amends by virtue of buying a new set of glasses for the person, um, for their kitchen. So, but people don't think that far. People just normally say sorry from the point of view that they feel sorry. So they made a mistake. They feel embarrassed, and they feel sorry that they're now embarrassed. They hardly ever. It's not often that people think about the fact that they're only saying sorry because of themselves, their own selfish reasons. And then also, if they don't feel sorry, if they don't care for the person that they've hurt or insulted, they might not even feel sorry. So they won't feel sorry, they won't say sorry, they won't ask for forgiveness, they won't offer to make amends. And then, lastly, if it was a crime that they committed, they might even fight it in court and see if they can get off. So there's that whole selfish aspect of it. So typically, my advice would be Um, love your neighbor as you love yourself, and then take the situation on the level and within the category that it has happened. Typically, if you just made a mistake, then you ask for forgiveness for the mistake and you say sorry. Hopefully, you care enough to feel regret, and then offer to make amends.
Well, there's the other part, you see, because so very often we draw the line at saying sorry, and then
Mm.
maybe if we go a bit further, being Christians, then might ask someone, "Forgive me, please."
Yes.
But then there's that third step to it that you alluded to there, which is making amends. We never normally ever even think about that part.
Well, this is the thing: is the reason why that part doesn't even cross people's minds is because people don't care. People's hearts aren't softened. People aren't aware of the fact that, because one thing we must remember is the Bible also says this, that the only person we actually sin against is God. So if you break somebody's glass, you also broke God's glass. It's also his glass. After all, it's his glass first and foremost because he owns the whole universe. So the fact that people don't care and that people aren't aware of they don't defer to God. So they say, so they don't have God as a consideration. And by virtue of that, they also don't consider their fellow man. Based on that, they don't even think about making amends. But as a Christian, we should always offer to make amends as best we can. You might not be able to, you might cause damage to the level that you can't actually afford. And then you might say, well, let me mow your lawn for a month. Or, it's all about just at least trying to make up for what you've done. And that should be our standard as a Christian. Let me make amends. Not, oh, I haven't even thought of the concept of making amends. I don't even feel sorry, and I don't even know what forgiveness is. All those things come into play when you are faced with the reality of God, with the reality of Jesus Christ dying on the cross, because he owns everything. He's the only one who's perfect. So he's the only one that a wrong can be done to properly. And then also, he's died for you on the cross, which means you owe him your whole life as a kind of a gratitude, as a kind of a making amends, or whatever you want to call it. So it's because of people's lack of God in their lives, their godlessness, that makes them not even. And yeah, all of us need to work on that and grow in that. So even if you're aware of it, I can tell you now that you're not, we're not living on the standard we should, and we can always grow.
Thank you, Padrino, Godfather, Don Corleone.
Well, he's got a lot to make amends for.